I cannot believe what I'm seeing right now. Literally, we're this close to this whole RV burning down to the ground. What are you doing?
What? It's RV maintenance day. I got all the things.
Looks like a bag of fun.
I know. Let's get started.
Feels good to be checking stuff off our list, because this maintenance list has been building for quite some time. It's time to get some work done. But first, priorities.
Get to work.
What?
I'm not doing it.
Do I get a cookie?
No, you gotta finish your job first.
Oh.
Get to work.
What?
I'm not doing it.
Do I get a cookie?
No, you gotta finish your job first.
Oh.
So there's this shut-off valve right here that is connected to the black tank. And you know, since RVing, we RV'd for a year, and now we RV about every weekend or so. And whenever I go to dump that black tank, it's just... it just leaks. Okay, let's be real, I've never dumped a black tank, nor do I intend to. So Ben, here you go.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so the shut-off valve for the black tank has been not working very well. It's been leaking, which is really gross. Leaking just down into the tube. So time to replace it.
Pause. Put some gloves on.
Oh yeah, totally. So time to replace this. Hopefully I won't get too messy. This is gross.
Will you get
Gross.
messy at all?
I hope not.
Ew.
I mean, you know what I'm dealing with here. So this is actually just a replacement of the same thing. It's the Valterra shutoff valve, but I got the one with the metal handle because on our last RV, I broke about 5 plastic handles. So make sure that you get one that's actually gonna last you. Spend $5 more and get the one that's gonna be good quality. But everything that we're replacing today, I got on Amazon. We'll have links down below for them. So let's get to it. Spread them.
Gross.
All right, I got the old valve out, and the seals around the outside are wearing away pretty good. So I know that wasn't helping. And then it almost looks like the inside flange here was actually a little bit too skinny. So if it got pushed in and it wasn't exactly sealed correctly, then it's gonna leak every time. So hopefully this will take care of the problem. So it was a little bit tricky to get it out because these things are pressed in, you know, to each other pretty well. So you needed to use, you know, take the screws out and use a screwdriver to kind of pry it a little bit to slide it out. And obviously you have to be careful not to damage anything. So, but now I'm gonna slip the new one in with the new seals and we should be good to go. It's easier said than done. Oh my gosh. Jeez. I just broke the seal. Well, things don't always go as planned when you're doing some maintenance on the RV, so that's gonna have to wait until I get a new part for it, but luckily we have lots of other things to do. So let's move on, get done what we can get done, and we'll fix that later. Okay, next on the list is more cabinet issues. This cabinet right here, they all have these old school kind of little ball bearing style grabbers right there. And those are starting to fail on a few of these. They're starting to fall off. The bearings are starting to come out. And this one's kind of been giving us some issues. I fixed it a couple times and it keeps coming out. So I went searching for a better option than those little ball bearing ones. And I found these. These are cabinet drawer latches. And hopefully these are gonna work a little bit better. So found these on Amazon. They're supposed to hold up to 22 pounds of weight. So that should be more than enough for these small cabinet doors as you're driving around down the road. So let's get some of these bad boys put on. These are gonna interlock together and you have to have these lined up perfectly in the cabinet for this to work, okay? So what I'm doing is I basically shut the door, I placed with the two pieces together, I placed them kind of where I want it to go, and then I pulled it open, holding it in place, and then marked it with a pencil where this one is gonna go, okay? And then, took off this piece, screw this one in place, and now I can put this back on now that the hook is screwed in. I can snap it in there, make sure that it fits. Looks like it's gonna fit perfectly, and then I'm gonna stick my head in there and I'm gonna mark these 2 spots to screw this thing in, or I'm gonna mark where it's supposed to go. Theoretically, if I mark these right and screw it in right, we should be good to go. Theoretically. And hopefully I won't break anything this time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now I have both of them in. Hey, look at that. We are in business. All right, so bam, bam. And it didn't break. Woo! I like it a lot. All right, I've got a few more of these to do around the RV, and then it's on to the next thing. All right, next on the list is taking care of this. That's no bueno. So in a lot of RVs, we have these flip-up style cabinets, and they have these handy little shock absorbers to hold them in place. I've had a couple of them that have broken and fall apart, so I'm going to replace those, and hopefully I won't have the problem of these things shutting on their own anymore. Okay, let's try this one. Wow, look at that. Very nice. Okay, one down, one to go. And whoa! Another common problem with all the jostling in RVs is the hinges on these doors start to come a little loose and these screws start to strip out. So what I'm going to do here is just remove the screws and actually fill in these screw holes that are stripped out with wood filler. So I have some of this plastic wood filler, and this will dry in about 15 minutes, and then I can just re-screw the screws back in. We should be good to go. All right, we're making progress. Cabinets are all done. They're secure. I'm feeling really good about those. So next on the list are a couple of new gutters for the corners of the RV. For whatever reason, when we bought this RV, it only had a gutter on the front left corner and the back right corner. So whenever it rains really hard, we get water just dripping all down in front of the door and down the sides of the RV, which if there are gonna be any kind of places for water to get in, you want to try to keep that water that's cascading off the sides off of the side of the RV so that they're not going to try to work their way inside somehow. So we're going to put these little gutter pieces on, and hopefully those will work well for us. I used some RV caulking around the new little gutter spout that I put on just to make sure that all the water is going where it should. So always make sure that you use some RV rated caulking where you're using that, because there's a lot of flex happening in the RV, so regular caulking will probably crack more often than not. Okay, so last on the list is gonna be replacing the rest of the lights on the interior with LED lights. I do this on all our RVs because, for one, the regular lights that come in RVs suck a lot of power, especially in the older ones. So, when you're boondocking, your battery life is gonna be significantly better if you have LED because you're barely pulling anything. Apparently those non-LED lights get pretty darn hot. So definitely recommended replace with LED lights. It's very easy to do. I've actually done a video on replacing your lights with LED lights previously. So if you'd like to see how to do that or get some more information on it, check out the video. We'll link it below. So I won't go through that all again right now for you, but it's a pretty simple process. Oh my goodness. Okay. Here is a really good example of what I was just talking about. Okay, so I was just taking down this light fixture right here. I took the screws out, and I'm trying to take this thing off, and I'm literally having to peel this thing away from the ceiling. Watch this. Look at that. Do you see why I have to peel it? It's because this got so hot above it, see this is leather right here on the ceiling. This thing got so hot that it actually melted the leather, and then the leather dried back onto this thing. So, I mean, look how close that is to catching this whole rig on fire. To the bedroom, look at that. All 4 lights that I just took down are all burnt. I had to peel every single one of them off the ceiling. That, ladies and gentlemen, is terrifying. So please do me a favor, if you haven't already, especially if you have a bit of an older RV, please just replace them with LED lights. It is, not only is it such a better idea for your battery life, but my goodness, what a fire hazard. So pick these up on Amazon. They're really inexpensive for what they're doing for you. And it'll not only give you more battery, but give you so much more peace of mind. This is just crazy. My mind is blown with all these old lights, and I just got to show you all the rest of them. So look at this one. That is so burnt that the leather actually, like the outside of the leather actually came off. Let me know if any of you have had this experience or not before, but my goodness, this is totally terrifying how bad these things are burnt. I cannot believe that this is such a common thing in this RV. It's like every single light that I've taken down has been completely burned up above it. So I'm so thankful and so glad that we did this when we did, because, you know, at this point, when they're getting this hot, who knows which time it would have gotten hot enough just to catch on fire and burn this whole thing down. And as most of you know, RVs are like a giant tinderbox, so as soon as a fire starts in one of these things, the whole thing is up in smoke. So feeling really, really good that we got those done. So we have a link to our Amazon shop down below that'll have the LED lights that I used on there, but just make sure that whatever you're buying for your RV is going to be compatible. On mine, I really wanted to make sure that the sizes were correct, because there were imprints in the leather from the previous light, so I wanted to make sure that they weren't smaller, that they were gonna, you know, cover it up perfectly. So just make sure you're paying attention to that, getting the right piece for your RV. But feeling really good about getting some of these things off of my list. As an RV owner, there's always a list of to-dos and things that are breaking and things that need to be maintained. So it's always important to have a list and to be making sure that you're working on it as time goes on. My list has been building up for quite a while, so it feels really good to get a lot of those done. But now we're so much more prepared to take off and go on our next RV adventure. And remember, you're never gonna look back on your life and wish you had less adventure. Also, if you haven't already, check us out on Instagram. Becca has stories going every day over there, and all kinds of different things that are much more involved in our just daily routine in our daily life. So check us out on there. It's a lot of fun. So make sure you tune in with us next week. We're gonna have a what to make in your RV when you're out camping. So we're gonna have some new recipe ideas. Join us there next week, and we'll see y'all later. But first, priorities.